Welcome back to our economics class. Today's session will start chapter 2, where you'll learn about the theory of consumer behavior. Um, you'll be able to learn about the meaning of consumer and consumer equilibrium and how to study consumer equilibrium based on two approaches. Then you'll learn about the meaning of utility, total utility and marginal utility, and also the relationship between total utility and marginal utility. And there's one theory, the law of diminishing marginal utility, that you learn in this session. Chapter 2, Theory of Consumer Behavior. We have talked about consumer before. So who is a consumer? A consumer is you and I, a person who seeks to achieve maximum satisfaction by spending our given income. So we always want to get maximum satisfaction from the money we spend. So we try to arrive at the best combination that we could derive from the given income. We have money, we need things to buy, we don't want to waste that money, so that's why we have to choose which one will give us the maximum satisfaction. So different consumers have different um, capacity to buy, different likings, your likes, dislike, and so consumers have preference of one goods over the others, and we do tend to differ from one individual to another in terms of preferences. To explain consumer behavior, what is our behavior as consumer, will explain from the two different approaches. In today's session, we'll deal with the first approach, the cardinal utility analysis. And next, we'll talk about the ordinal utility analysis. So today, cardinal utility analysis of finding out what's the behavior of the consumer. Before we do that, this theory, cardinal approach, assumes that for simplicity there are only two goods, that is bananas and mangoes. You as a consumer or the consumer in question will have to choose from two goods, bananas and mangoes, given the amount of income that he has. The income remains the same. So let's call that consumption bundle, the combination of that goods that you would like to consume, as the variable xi for bananas and x1, I mean to say, for bananas, and x2 for mangoes. So we denote in terms of a variable, banana x1, mangoes x2. So x1 and x2 can be 0, that means consume nothing, or can be positive, can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. We can consume more of them or 0 of them in that sense. Okay, so when we say x1, x2, you understand, bananas, mango, we mean it consists of bundles of x1 quantity of bananas and x2 quantities of mangoes. How many of mangoes and how many of bananas we would like to consume, that is the bundle. Okay, for example, when we say the bundle is 5, 10, x1 5, x2 10, it implies that I consume 5 bananas and 10 mangoes. That's the bundle given in a bracket. Okay, so that is the assumption that to keep in mind when we go forward learning about consumer behavior by cardinal approach. Cardinal approach talks about the importance of utility. So now the question is, what is utility? Utility here of a commodity is its one satisfying capacity, meaning the capacity of any commodity to satisfy our wants. Want, satisfying capacity, capacity to satisfy wants. So every commodity that we consume because it has that capacity, that power to satisfy us. If it doesn't have that power, we don't get that satisfaction. So we don't consume, we don't spend money on it. We spend money on it because it can satisfy us. So what is utility? You can say utility is the want, satisfying capacity or power of a commodity. It has in it that capacity that you cannot see but you can simply feel satisfied. Okay, utility. This is a concept by Alfred Marshall. When he wants to explain our behavior, he thought of utility as the best way to find out. So, because according to him, utility is the ability of that commodity to satisfy us. So, if we can do something with this utility, we can define, we can explain our behavior. This concept of utility, we have learned the meaning. The characteristics is that it is subjective. It is not something concrete that it's true for all, but it differs from individual to individuals, from person to person, so to say, from place to place, from time to time, even for the same commodity. For example, we talk about chocolate. For those who love chocolates, then when they consume it, they eat it, they get higher, it has higher utility. They get more satisfaction than those who are not so fond of chocolates. It differs from person to person. Those who like it, they get more satisfaction than those who don't. Same is the case if you talk about the place, a room heater or a fan. It's not it. It has more utility, so to say, in warmer place, in colder place, I mean to say, than in warmer place. Room heater to heat the room when it's cold. It has more utility in Ladakh because it's cold area than in Chennai, hot area. Or that same commodity, that same good has more utility in winter than in summer. So utility is subjective. It's subjective. It depends on the person, it depends on the place, it depends on the time. It differs from one case to another. That's the concept of utility. So from utility, we'll be able to define, to explain the consumer behavior. But from the way we consume things, we can find our behavior. That is called the cardinal utility analysis. We use the utility, but it's the cardinal. So what is this cardinal? Cardinal analysis, cardinal utility analysis. It assumes that the level of utility can be expressed in numbers, that it is measurable. Utility is measurable, that we can get satisfaction by consuming a good, consuming a commodity, because it has that utility. But as human, we assume, according to Marshall's theory of utility, that we can give it a number. We can give a number and we can measure. Example here, a shirt that you wear, that you consume the shirt, it may give more satisfaction to one person, less to another. But suppose for you, it gives 50 utility. That is how Marshall tries to explain our behavior by giving number to satisfaction. Given number to satisfaction that's given by the commodity. So in that directly it means given number to utility. You wear a shirt, you get satisfaction. We don't know how much, but Marshall says let's give a number. That's cardinal approach. 50 units, 50 utils. Utils is the unit of measurement of utility, UTILS. Or if we eat a banana or a mango or apple, we get satisfaction. We have to give a number. I I I I ate banana. I get 10 utils. That means 10 unit of utility, then level of satisfaction. So in that way, we can measure our satisfaction, measure the utility. So that is the important thing here, that we can calculate, we can add the satisfaction we get from consumption. That is the measurability of utility. So once we are able to measure the utility, we can add together all the satisfaction. We get the concept of total utility. What is total utility? Total utility of a fixed quantity of a commodity, TU, total utility, is the total satisfaction derived from consuming the given amount of some commodity X. Any commodity that you consume, add them all together, the total is the total satisfaction, total utility. For example, suppose we consume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successively, consecutively, we consume, so to say, a different slice of bread. And by total utility, we mean that if we consume one loaf of bread, slice of bread, I get satisfaction. And Marshall said, let's give a number. I say 12. So 12 is the total out of one slice of bread. Suppose now I consume another one, two loaves of bread, two slices of bread. By consuming two, I get now 18 level of satisfaction. 18 total utility at 1 and 2. The first and the second slice of bread, I get 18, and so on and so forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is the number of slices of bread that I ate to get a total utility from 12 to 22. That is the meaning of total utility. You add them all together, you sum total, the total satisfaction you get from each unit of a commodity you consume. These number of units you consume, you can say n number of units, n. Here n is equal to 6. If I consume only 3, n is equal to 3. I get only 22. If I consume 4, n is equal to 4. I get 24 level of satisfaction. Consume up to 6, n is equal to 6. Total utility, total satisfaction I get is 22. That's the concept of total utility. Okay, total utility refers to the total utility TUN. N is six number of commodities, commodity that I consume, unit of commodity. TUN refers to the total utility derived from consuming n units of commodity X. Commodity X can be banana, can be mangoes, can be any, but n number, how many of them I consume. That's the total utility. How it differs from marginal utility. Marginal utility is the change in total utility due to consumption of one additional unit of a commodity. You eat one more. What is the change in total utility? What is the change in total utility? That is the marginal utility. Mu is equal Tu of that n minus Tu n minus 1. Let's look at the table again. What is the margin? Suppose you don't know here. What is the marginal utility here? By consuming one unit, one piece of bread, one slice of bread, I get 20. 12 total satisfaction, 1 only, n is equal to 1. Okay. So what is the marginal utility of the first unit, n unit? It is total utility of that unit minus the preceding TUN, which is this, because this is the n unit, the first is the n unit, minus n minus 1 means 1 minus 1 is 0. I haven't consumed in 0, so that's why 12 minus 0 is 12. Let's go to the second one. Now I consume one more unit. 2 units, n is equal to 2. My total becomes 18. But what is the addition to the total? What is the addition to the total by consuming one more? How much it adds from the first to the second total utility by consuming one more? That is the marginal. How much it adds? It's Tu of this n, which is the 2, minus Tu of n minus 1, which is 18 minus 12 is n minus 1 here is 6. Okay, so marginal utility is tu of that n minus the tu of n minus 1 preceding it. Same case here, I consume the third unit, I get 22 overall. But what is that addition to the total by consuming one more? How much it adds from 18 to 12? By consuming one more, it adds 22 minus 18, which is 4. Same case here, I consume one more, it adds to the total. How much it adds? TUN minus 1, 24 minus 22, 2, and so on and so forth. So and then if you go on, you'll find it can be 0, it can be minus 1. We'll deal with that. But at the moment, you simply understand what is this concept of MU and TU. TU is the total. After consuming 2, 3, what is the total? MU is of that particular commodity that you have just consumed. Is the utility from the last unit. The second unit gives you 6. The third unit gives you 4. That is the marginal utility. Okay. So you can also express TU as MU of n number of units. The TU of all, it's not it. The TU here, the TU of second unit is MU1 plus MU2, 12 plus 6 is 18. The TU of the third unit is MU1, MU2, you add together MU3 is the TU of n number of unit, the third unit. So TU is MU1, MU2, MU3, MU n number of units. Okay, but MU, you understand, is the difference between the total utility of that unit itself, the second or the third, minus n minus 1, du n minus 1, which is preceding it. So that's how you get these two concepts of total utility, the sum total of all the satisfaction you get, all utility you get from consuming a particular commodity, and marginal utility is the addition to the total by consuming an additional unit, one more. It is also can be said as the utility of the last unit. 12, the 6, the 4 is the utility you get from the last one you just consumed. And if you plot this table on the graph, you'll get this kind of a curve of total utility and the marginal utility. You measure the quantity of units 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of vertical axis, and the TU and MU here. You will find that if you consume the first unit, the first unit, you'll get 12 total utility, 12, 18, 22, 24, 24, 22. You'll get this shape of TU. This is the TU curve. So it is like concave. But if you plot the MU curve by consuming 1, you get 12. It starts from the same point. But as you go on consuming, you get lesser and lesser. You'll get this kind of a curve. First unit, you get 12. Second unit, you get 6. And you get 4, 2, 0. And can be also minus. It's not it. As you consume more and more, you get minus 2. So that's why the shape of this curve is below the axis. So this is the MU curve. So MU curve declines as you consume more and more and more and more of the commodity. Of course, the total satisfaction first increases, then declines, but the MU, remember, keeps on declining till it reaches 0 at some point, and beyond that, if you consume more after the fifth, so to say, fifth slice of bread, if you consume more, you'll get lesser and less satisfaction. It can be negative also. Okay, so by looking at this, what you'll get is the law of diminishing marginal utility. This MU, the marginal utility, is diminishing. It means decreasing. The more you consume, the less you get the utility, the less you get the satisfaction. That is the behavior of consumer. It applies to you, it applies to everyone, applies to me. You consume the same thing again and again. Not it. You don't get more satisfaction. Even if you're thirsty, you drink more and more and more and more water, you'll get less and less and less satisfaction than you get from the first one. Not it. The first will give you more satisfaction than the second. Imagine if you're thirsty, the first glass of water will give you the most satisfaction. The second will give you less and less and less. And there's a point of time when it's enough. It's zero, give you no more satisfaction. But if you go beyond that, it will be, you would call it disutility. And so, by the law of diminishing marginal utility, we understand is the law of this curve, of that figure from the table, that explains to us the more we consume, the lesser and lesser is the satisfaction. It can become zero and even negative. So marginal utility from consuming each additional 1 to 2 to 3, each additional unit of a commodity declines and falls as its consumption increases. This falls as you consume more and more, while keeping consumption of other commodities constant. While keeping consumption of other commodities constant means you don't consume others. You simply concentrate on the consumption of this commodity in question. Okay, from here you can see that these two concepts of total utility and marginal utility has different shapes, but they have a relationship. They originate from utility, and so there are three relationships between TU and MU. You can see from here, when TU is rising, as you consume more and more from first to fourth, it increased from 12 and so on, 18, 22, 24. You will find at that point when mu is mu is increasing this part, the relationship with mu is that mu also, and during this part, is positive. Positive meaning its value is 12, 6, 4, and 2. That's the first relationship. The second relationship is that when TU is constant, it does not rise, it does not fall, MU is 0. The value of MU in this fifth unit is 0. And the third relationship is when TU starts to fall, declines, you'll find the value of mu is from the fifth to the sixth negative. These are three relationships between TU and mu. So what you've learned the meaning of utility, meaning of total utility, meaning of marginal utility. You can also find the relationship between these two, and most importantly, the law of diminishing marginal utility. It explains one of our behaviors, that is, as we consume more and more of any commodity, keeping other constant, income constant, we'll get the DMU, diminishing MU, meaning diminishing level of satisfaction, meaning our satisfaction keeps on decreasing. That's about the cardinal approach. Next, we'll talk about the second approach to study consumer behavior.